Hey guys, welcome to Battle VIP Terrible. Today Native got Rocket Arson featuring new Armarouge from Scarlet and Violet with a super cool Fire Off ability to move any amount of fire energy from your bench Pokemon onto your active Pokemon as often as you like during your turn. And we actually get to play this ability every single turn as well to charge up our Rayquaza VMAX to do max burst for up to 340 damage, knocking out a VMAX with one hit if we have 4 fire energy attached to our Rayquaza. And how do we attach those fire energy? We get to spread our energy using Max Blaze with Blaziken VMAX onto our bench Rapid Strike Pokemon by reattaching from the discard pile onto any 2 of our bench Rapid Strike Pokemon every single turn. Every time we use Max Blaze, we actually get to attach 2 extra energies in addition to our Magma Basin. So in a single turn, we get 4 energies, and we actually get to play our Fire Off ability on the next turn to charge up our Rayquaza to do 340 damage with Max Burst on the next turn. And all we need to do is switch or retreat to the bench with the Tower of Waters. We're not playing Tower of Waters though, just because we need Magma Basin. So we have a lot of switch cards for this deck, and also 1 Forest Seal Stone to help us search for that switch card as well. We are playing 2 copies of Switch and 1 Escape Rope, and also that 1 stone to search for it. We also have our Rayquaza VMAX to do Azure Pulse, discarding our hand and drawing 3 cards each. For each copy you have in play every single turn, you get to draw cards with this ability. You also get to discard your fire energy for you to reattach with your Max Blaze. So Rayquaza is actually a powerful draw support on its own, helping us draw cards while also doing the discard for us to play Max Blaze, reattaching energies as we said. We also have our Radiant Eternatus helping us immediately bench our VMAX from our deck on the first turn if we get it into our hand. So how do we get Eternatus into our hand? That's the biggest challenge for this Radiant ability. To be able to play this ability, we need to search for it and put it into our hand before actually benching it, putting it into our bench. If we put it onto the bench into play with a VIP, obviously it does not work. With a Nest Ball, it doesn't work, and that's why we are playing instead our Capturing Aroma to put it into our hand so that we actually get to bench it from our hand using its ability to search our deck for any 2 VMAX and put it into play. So we actually are playing 4 copies of Capturing Aroma to put our Eternatus into our hand to search our deck for that Radiant Pokemon, and 4 Ultra Ball as well to get it on our first turn. If we go second, on our first turn we actually get to play Lance as well. Playing Lance allows us to search for 1 Rayquaza V, 1 VMAX, and also an Eternatus, essentially allowing us to evolve up to 3 VMAX by our second turn. We actually get to, all we need is 1 more evolution though, because we are actually cheating the evolution with our Climactic Gate ability, bringing out 2 VMAX at a time. We can actually bring out 1 Rayquaza and 1 Blaziken VMAX if we choose not to bench the Blaziken. If we choose not to play the basic Blaziken, normally you would get it early though. We are only playing 2 copies of the basic for each of our VMAXs, so only 2 Rayquaza and 2 Blaziken V. So if you get Blaziken in the active spot, that would be really ideal. If you have your Rayquaza in the active spot or any other Pokemon, you can still switch it out and attack with your Max Blaze at some point in the game. If you don't have a Blaziken in play, you can actually choose to use your Climactic Gate to put into play a VMAX, a Blaziken VMAX instead of the Rayquaza, and play your VIP or Nest Ball for the Rayquaza instead of the Blaziken, because just because they may be able to kill off your Blaziken by doing a boss on the next turn, if they play a Miraidon deck for example, they can quite easily do a knockout on the first turn against your Blaziken if you do not put a VMAX into play. So we actually need Blaziken early game to be able to get enough energies for us to play Max Burst, because it's our initial attacker. We have to attack with Blaziken first, obviously, because we need enough energy in play before we're able to transfer onto our Rayquaza VMAX to do enough damage with this attack, to discard enough energies, doing enough damage to do a knockout with this Pokemon. So we have also our Zeraora, which is another Rapid Strike Pokemon, helping us do Cross Fist for a bench snipe, hitting 160 damage onto the bench. If we attack with one of our Rapid Strike Pokemon, one of our other Rapid Strike Pokemon on the last turn. So if we did either Max Blaze or Max Burst on the last turn, we actually get to play Cross Fist for an additional bench snipe, doing 160 extra damage onto the bench right after playing our Max Blaze. So if we do a Serena boss our Escape Rope, after playing Max Blaze on the active, we actually get to do Cross Fist by transferring those energies from our bench. Switching into the Zeraora allows us to transfer from the Blaziken onto the active with our Fire Off ability, and all we need is one Spiral or one Lightning energy from our hand to satisfy the attack cost for us to play our Cross Fist, knocking out their V-Star on the bench, just because 130 plus 160 is more than enough actually to kill off a V-Star with 2 hits, and we are actually doing 100 damage on the active as well, and that means it allows us to knock out the active on the next turn with less discards using Max Burst for a knockout. So Max Burst, we actually get to discard less energy with this attack. All we need to do is discard 2 or 3 energies, knocking out a VMAX in the active after playing our Cross Fist on the next turn. Bad thing about Zeraora though is that you are losing 2 prizes if they kill your Zeraora right after you play the Cross Fist, and sometimes for certain games it's actually better not to play Zeraora at all, especially against Mew VMAX as well, since they can quite easily do a boss before you're actually able to play your Cross Fist. If you bench it at the wrong time, you may not be able to use this attack at all, and you may actually lose 2 prizes, and all they need is another 1 prize knockout. They just need a VMAX knockout. After killing your Zeraora, they just need to kill a VMAX and another Armarouge or a Radiant Eternatus on the bench to finish off the game by drawing all 6 prizes for the win. So you have to be very careful whether or not to play this card. Sometimes it's actually better not to use this at all. So we actually have to be smart and play nothing but Max Burst if we're up against decks that can quite easily kill off our V cards on the bench. If they can kill off our Zera, if we don't count our prizes properly, we may actually fare better. We may actually, screw ourselves over by playing this card at the wrong time. So make sure you don't use Cross Fist at all if you actually are able to survive with nothing but your Rayquaza, which is actually possible just because we have our Cheryl to recover all damage from not just our Rayquaza or our but also our Blaziken. After doing Max Blaze or our Max Burst, we can actually switch into another different Rayquaza, transfer all the energies onto the new Rayquaza, and play a Cheryl to recover all damage from our evolutions Pokemon, from our bench evolutions right after taking damage with our VMAXs. So VMAX without weakness, VMAX with water weakness, we actually get to tank with our Rayquaza, either our Blaziken or our Rayquaza. Even if our Blaziken gets knocked out, we still have our Rayquaza to tank, and we actually get to play Cheryl to recover damage, giving us an extra, buying us an extra turn to do another knockout with Max Burst, another heavy knockout using Magma Basin for an extra energy after playing Max Burst. We actually get to do 2 VMAX knockouts in a row using our Max Blaze for our first turbo charge, and on the next turn we actually get to charge up another 2 energies with our Armarouge, fire off those energies from the bench with Magma Basin to do another VMAX knockout. So that's the main combo for this deck. We have also our regular setup cards, 3 VIP Pass, 1 Nest Ball to bench our basics. We actually need our Charcadet early so that we get to evolve it as early on as our second turn to transfer after playing Max Blaze. We don't really need to evolve that fast, but we actually can because we have our 4 copies of Ultra Ball with 4 Capturing Aroma, mainly for our Radiant Eternatus, but it actually allows us to evolve our Blaziken fast as well, and also obviously our Armarouge so that we actually get to use his ability for Rayquaza and also our Zeraora at the right time. We're also playing 3 Magma Basin to get our energies, extra energies onto the bench, 2 Heavy Ball to get our Radiant Eternatus if it get prize. We have no Arven for this deck, but we are playing 2 copies of the item, and also 1 Forest Seal Stone to search for our Heavy Ball. If we have our Radiant Eternatus prize at some point in the game, we would eventually get it out into our hand and play the Eternatus to bench 2 VMAX on the bench to get 2 Rayquazas or 1 Rayquaza and a Blaziken onto the bench as early on as the first turn if we can. If we can't, we actually do have to end our turn after using this ability, so we can't attack after playing our Climactic Gate, obviously, just because you are ending your turn after using this ability, and you can't actually use Max Blaze for extra energies. So we are actually optimizing this deck to make sure we actually get to play this ability on the first turn though, so we don't actually need to worry about that. We don't need to worry too much since we have our Lance and also so many items as well to get our Eternatus into our hands so we get to play the ability at the right time. We also have our one boss and one Serena to target any V Pokemons on the bench so we actually get to hit the same Pokemon by discarding less energies for the knockout using Max Burst. After doing Max Blaze, we essentially have 13 damage counters on their active. If they retreat to the bench, we just need to play boss at the right time to knock it out with Max Burst by discarding only 2 or 3 energies, 2 or 3 fire from our Rayquaza, and we actually get to conserve 1 or 2 extra energies. While doing Magma Basin, we actually get an extra knockout on the next turn without having to play a second Max Blaze. We also have our Research, 2 copies to help us draw cards into our hand fast. We have 1 Judge to shuffle our hand and draw 4 cards for both players. We also are playing 2 Switch with 1 Escape Rope, as we said, to help us swap out Blaziken and, swap out Blaziken for our Rayquaza so we get to transfer those energies into the active and attack with Max Burst while conserving the energy without doing the retreat, without discarding energies for the retreat cause. We are also playing 1 Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle back our Pokemon and supporter cards. We're not playing Miriam, we are playing instead our Team Yell's Cheer just so we get to substitute Palpat and also Rod into 1 supporter card. We actually get to not just shuffle back Pokemon but also our supporter, helping us recycle our Cheryl, Judge, Lance, or even Phoebe, and Boss, which is very, very important for this deck. Boss allows us a big knockout with our Max Burst, doing a VMAX. If they have Regieleki, for example, on the bench, we actually get to do a Boss at the right time for 3 extra prizes by killing off an Eleki at the right time. So we have also our Phoebe against Duraludon VMAX, a very, very good counter just because if they play Skyscraper, if they have that ability, we can't actually do any damage with our Spiral Energy attached to our Rayquaza. This actually acts as Lightning Energy, allows us to substitute for the Lightning cost for us to do Max Blaze for a big knockout against Duraludon. But if they have the Skyscraper ability, if we don't have any Path to the Peak in play, if we don't have Cologne at the right time, we're not playing any Canceling Cologne for this deck. We have instead our Phoebe to help us get past the Skyscraper ability so that we actually get to do a knockout. We actually get to damage Duraludon with our Rayquaza doing Max Burst for a massive knockout. So we actually get to recycle this card with our Team Yell's Cheer, and we also have 1 extra security, 1 extra basic lightning energy to help us attack, do extra damage on the Duraludon. If they play 2 copies, for example, a Lugia VSTAR Duraludon VMAX deck, if they have 2 Duraludons, we actually get to kill one with the basic energy and the other one with our Phoebe, and that's actually enough to win the game by knocking out 2 VMAXs for 6 prize draw. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game versus Gardevoir EX. They've got Zacian V doing instant OHKO. All they need to do is discard enough energies and play Psychic Embrace to attach unlimited amount of energies from the discard pile up to, well, as many as they have in there onto the Zacian to do a big knockout on our VMAX. So we do have to be careful of the Zacian because they can quite easily kill off any of our VMAX with 1 hit. And all they need is their second Zacian to win the game, or even like Brainwave. I doubt they can actually attach enough energies with Brainwave though onto the Gardevoir because it has only 140 HP. It can't really tank as much. If they pass 1 turn attacking with the Zacian while attaching, I don't think they would have that much energies though. I don't think they would be able to discard that many. So I don't think they would have enough energies for them to attach onto both Pokemons to satisfy it to, play the Emergency Jelly onto the Gardevoir, recovering the damage and reattaching even more energies on the next turn to, well, knock out our VMAX with the Gardevoir, with the Shining Arcana Gardevoir doing Brainwave for big damage, for an instant OHKO instead of having to play the second Zacian. They can actually play Shining Arcana instead of Psychic Embrace to get extra energies onto the Gardevoir by playing the ability and using Energy Recycler instead of using Psychic Embrace, because they are actually forced to place damage counters on the Gardevoir and they don't actually get to, tank that much damage. Alrighty, they got Greninja for the discard as well, so they can easily discard their energies from the get-go while getting another one from the deck by using Zacian's ability to attach an extra energies into play, which is a little bit crazy. Curlia is a bit slow though. If they don't get their VIP, if they don't, if they go first without enough Fog Crystals or VIP, they may not be able to bench enough routes to set them going because they need a lot of Kirlias, they need a lot of Gardevoirs, right? If they play like the Psychic Embrace one, if they play the EX, if they have only one in play, and if they choose to evolve 2 of the Chilling Reign Gardevoir, they may not be able to play, Psychic Embrace at some point in the game. So they do have to be very careful. They have to keep one Kirlia in play so that they actually get to choose whichever evolutions to play. Just because if your opponent play a boss, if their opponent plays a boss against the EX and knock it out, they can actually choose to re-evolve another Gardevoir EX to use the ability for free energies from the discard pile. So obviously the EX ability is a lot better, because you don't have to rely on chance for Shining Arcana. You are relying on your luck, by looking at the top 2 cards of the deck. If they are energies, you get to attach them to your Pokemon. If they are not energies, you at least get to draw them into your hand. So it is a draw support though, but we actually got Kirlia for the draw support, so I don't think they should be evolving. Discarding 1 card from your hand could actually be bad though at some point in the game, because they may be forced to discard, something else other than their energies eventually. They probably have a lot of energies though to discard. If they discard all of their energies as well, they may not be able to attach from their hand, and that could actually, spell defeat for them, because attaching way too many from the discard pile, if they use the ability too many times, they may just run out of the jelly. If they don't have enough jellies in the deck, they can't recover enough damage, and that's gonna screw them over, especially against spread decks. So they are kind of weak towards Rapid Strike Urshifu. Any Rapid Strike combos. We have our Zeraora for this deck as well, so if they are not careful, they may have way too much damage counters on the Zacian for us to do an extra knockout on the bench. By doing Serena boss on the Lumineon, we can actually do Crossfist for 4 price in a single turn if they have enough damage counters on the Zacian. We actually didn't do it though, but we could have done that. We should have actually be, aiming for that against a Gardevoir deck, especially if they already have the Lumineon on the bench, ready for us to do the snipe. They have no Manaphy as well, so if they play Manaphy, they're not allowed to do Lumineon. They have less consistency, but I feel like Manaphy is good enough. I don't think you need the Lumineon, because you have Kirlia for the draw support, you have Radiant Greninja as well. You just need to add a couple supporter cards, right? A couple Research, Judge. I really honestly don't think Lumineon has any value. So we do have to be careful against Zacian as well, because at any point they could actually play the Sky Seal Stone for an extra prize against the VMAX. So they are drawing 4 prizes if they use Star Order at the right time. Let's hope they don't have the tool card, because they are not actually allowed to attach the tool card onto anything but Zacian or Lumineon, and I think that's probably the reason why they're playing Lumineon, because it allows them to attach the tool card a lot easier. You don't have to attach it onto the Zacian, you don't have to bench the Zacian before playing the tool card. So they can actually attach it first onto the Lumineon and then play the Research to bench the Zacian, and that allows them to, bench it late before actually using the Sky Seal Stone. So they can play the Star Order as long as they have it attached to their V card. It doesn't need to be on the Zacian. It can actually be on your other V Pokemons. But since they have no other V Pokemons, Gardevoirs and EX, they can't actually play that onto any other Pokemon but the Lumineon and the Zacian. But I'm probably over-explaining myself. Anyways, let's get back to the game. So they're playing a worker to discard our Magma Basin, because they actually need to remove Path to the Peak so that they actually get to play Gardevoir's ability every single turn. So EX ability is a rulebox ability, and Path to the Peak is actually a big thing right now, because we have Miraidon EX, we have, Miraidon's playing so many stadiums though. So they most decks kind of are forced to play stadiums. The best thing for Gardevoir is Temple of Sinnoh, because Temple of Sinnoh actually locks Lugia V-Star and, Rapid Strike decks, because they are actually weak towards Rapid Strike. Playing so many damage counters and attaching the energy so many times. They need Manaphy. If they played a Manaphy though, they would have less Pokemon, less draw supports in play, and your opponent could easily just do an Avery with Rapid Strike, with their Urshifu VMAX deck. They could do an Avery and a Bench Snipe at the same time, knock out the Manaphy with a Boss and a Lost City. They can easily deal with the Manaphy with a Cologne as well, so it's quite easy to counter a Gardevoir EX deck or any other decks in the meta, to be honest, just because all you need to do is target their weakness. Find their weakness and target it directly, and you got yourself an epic win. every deck have a weakness. Like, do not do not underestimate their weakness, because every single deck that you play, even in the meta, has a huge weakness, and you need to focus on that. So right now they are down to 3 prize remaining because they just killed off our Blaziken. They don't have the Sky Seal Stone though, which is good news. We actually get to knock out a Zacian on this turn, so it's not too bad. We have to watch out for the second one though. I'm pretty sure the second one's coming. If they can bench the second Zacian at the right time, they got another VMAX knockout for the win. And that's an easy win for them. So we kind of had no choice but to play the Zeraora. We kind of had to play the Zeraora on this turn though. But we had the Escape Rope instead of the Switch. And that's the reason we're playing more Switches now. For this list, I'm pretty sure we are playing 2 Escape Rope and 1 Switch. So if we had the Switch in our hand right now, we could have done Cross Fist. But we actually don't have the Spiral though. We have the Lightning Energy. So we can't move the Lightning Energy. If we don't get another Spiral, if we don't get the Spiral from the deck by drawing cards with Rayquaza, using Azure Pulse twice, if we don't get the Spiral, we don't actually get to play Crossfist on this turn, even with the Switch. Oh, but we got the Forest Seal Stone though. We can search for either the Switch or the Spiral, depending on what we need, but I feel like we're just gonna do Max Burst here. We definitely should have done Crossfist, because all they need to do is retreat and play another Zacian, and we're done for. I don't think that was the wisest decision. Crossfist would have given us 3 prize on this turn, and then all we need to do is play Serena or Boss to target the Lumineon, or even Max Burst on the Gardevoir EX to win the game. So, down to 2 prize remaining, we would have a higher advantage in the game. We are kind of forcing them to play a Boss at the same time as benching the Zacian. It's quite easy though. All they need to do is play a Nest Ball or a Fog Crystal, do a Boss, and that's it. Like, it's pretty easy since they have so much draw support with Kirlia. I don't think any decks that play that many VMAXs or V-Stars can actually win against a Gardevoir that easily, because they got the Sky Seal Stone, they got the Zacian for easy OHKOs. Gardevoir EX is insane right now, so we have to be very careful. If we want to win against a Gardevoir though, we actually get to play Cheryl. If they are not careful, if they don't discard enough energies, if they play Storm Slash way too early, we got Cheryl to fall back on, and they actually need to play Boss twice. If we play the Zera as well, or maybe just once if they kill the Armarouge, right? If they kill the Zera and then play Cresselia to knock out the Armarouge, then we're screwed. They can actually play Cresselia as well to finish off Armarouge on the bench, and that means we are going to be forced to play the Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle it back, re-evolve a second copy. So that's the reason we have our second Charcadet on the bench, just to prepare for the next evolution. If they kill one of our Armarouge with the Boss as well, we just need to evolve the next one by playing our Team Yell's Cheer. So that's how powerful it is. We actually thought about Super Rod for the next set as well. So Super Rod is going to help you shuffle back your basic energy, which is going to work against Duraludon. So we need our basic lightning against Duraludon VMAX. Playing Skyscraper, we can't actually play Spiral to satisfy the lightning cost. We need to play the basic energy. And we only have one Phoebe to shuffle, one Phoebe to basically to basically get past Duraludon's ability, because if we play Phoebe with our VMAX, we actually get to attack, we get to do damage on the VMAX, on their Duraludon, even with their ability, because we are ignoring all effects on our opponent's active Pokemon by damage from our VMAX Pokemon's attacks, and that means we get to do a knockout with Rayquaza against their Duraludon, which is crazy. Using, the Battle Styles Phoebe, which is the last set that we actually get to play supporter cards from, which is pretty cool for post-rotation. We also have our Team Yell's Cheer for this deck though. We're playing Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle back, that allows us to shuffle back not just our Phoebe, but also it allows us to recycle Cheryl, Boss, cards like Serena as well. If we swap that out for a Super Rod, we get to recycle our basic energy, but we can't actually we can't cycle back our Phoebe if we discard it with Rayquaza. So there are pros and cons to everything. If you choose to use different cards for the deck, You know, obviously Super Rod is an item though, so I kind of prefer Super Rod because, you know, if you get the energy, if you have the basic energy in the deck, if you have the Phoebe prize, you actually get to play the energy and then use the Super Rod to recycle and, you know, attack Duraludon a second time with the basic lightning. And we have our Sky Seal Stone and Max Blaze to retrieve that lightning into our hand or even reattach it with Blaziken, so it's not too bad, honestly. I feel like playing the item is a lot better. I don't really like using a supporter card to shuffle back Pokemons. I honestly just don't like that. Miriam allows you to shuffle back 5, which is crazy, but I honestly feel like there's no point. It at least draws you 3 cards though, right? But honestly, I wouldn't though, just because if you can play an item, might as well. Super Rod allows you to shuffle 3 in any combinations of Pokemon or basic energy into the deck, and that allows us to shuffle back 3 Pokemons, and that's already more than enough. If we can shuffle back more than the usual amount for Ordinary Rod, I'm happy with that. Like, only 2 for Ordinary Rod is kind of bad. If you get to shuffle back 3 Pokemons, that's actually, you know, I would say a luxury. You don't get to shuffle back your energy at the same time though. If you want to shuffle back your energy, you're only allowed 2 Pokemons. Obviously. So here comes Sky Seal Stone. What are we going to search for now? Okay, we did the Miriam, because they actually knocked out our Armarouge on the last turn. Surprisingly. So we had to play Miriam. We have no Team Yell's Cheer for this list. This is one of the earlier experiments while I was building this deck. So sorry about that. I had to kind of modify the list as we go, and the best version is actually the one with the Team Yell's Cheer, believe it or not, just because we already have our Rayquaza to do Azure Pulse for the draw support. We don't really need to draw that many cards, honestly. We don't need Miriam to draw cards. We don't need to shuffle back that many Pokemons, since we are playing VMAX and, you know, high tankers. If they kill off 2 VMAX, that's all they need to win the game, so we don't need to shuffle back anything, honestly. Unless if we discard the wrong Pokemons from our hand. You know, obviously, shuffling back only, you know, 3 in any combination is quite risky, but we at least get to shuffle back our supporter cards as well with Team Yell's Cheer without drawing cards, which isn't necessary, as we said. So shuffling back your supporter is a big deal, right? It's kind of like a Paw Pad and a Rod built into the same card. Team Yell's Cheer, nobody ever uses that for a non-control deck, but I feel like if you have the draw support with your Rayquaza, you're actually allowed to play supporter cards like that. So, we have enough energies to finish off the Gardevoir, I'm pretty sure. Or do we? I don't think we do. We're doing 260 damage. Oh, they have 6 damage counters though. So we actually get to kill off the Gardevoir right now. Because they attach 3 energy from the discard pile, and now they have 250 HP remaining. Are we gonna play the Azure Pulse? So we have to watch out for the next Gardevoir EX. If they evolve another EX and play the Zacian, they still got the VMAX knockout though. They can still finish off our VMAX on the next turn. We have to be very careful against Gardevoir. Fortunately, this guy isn't really that experienced though in terms of gameplay using meta decks. Most people, you know, I don't know, most people who are competitive would actually win this game quite easily. But I don't care. I'm just going to take the win right here just because Gardevoir EX is way too overpowered, to be honest. We are playing VMAX decks and we don't actually stand a good chance against Gardevoir. I feel like if we can play, if we can hit the Zacian, if they bench it too early, we can actually do Max Blaze on the Zacian to pressure them from, you know, attaching enough energies to do the knockout. They may not be able to attach that much energies if we already have damage counters on that Pokemon. They can't use Psychic Embrace to attach as much energies as they like onto the same Zacian. They are kind of forced to play the second copy just to knock out the VMAX with 1 hit. If they play the second copy though, we got our Zera to attack with Cross Fist, finishing off both Zacians in play. We can kill off the active Zacian and also the one on the bench with Cross Fist right after playing Max Blaze with our Blaziken for the energy. And they just conceded because they got not enough energy to play Brainwave with. So Brainwave is doing 300 damage right now, I think. Oh no, 240 damage, only 240. So they need 3 more energies to kill off our VMAX with 1 hit. If they don't kill it off right now, we got a win on the next turn. So they got nothing but Shining Arcana to fall back on because they couldn't find the next Gardevoir EX. to evolve the bench Kirlia, and they actually conceded because they couldn't get enough energies into play with Shining Arcana. So Shining Arcana is not as good as your Psychic Embrace, obviously. And even if you do Psychic Embrace on the one price Gardevoir, you have to watch out for the HP. It has very low HP, lower than usual for a normal stage 2 card, just because the ability is kind of broken. Because you get to search, you get to look at the top 2 cards of your deck and attach any energy, any basic energy onto your Pokemon in any way you like, which is crazy. You get to attach Lightning Energy, Fighting Energy, Metal Energy, anything. Right? We have Magnezone for Metal, so we don't really need Gardevoir, but Fighting and, you know, Psychic Energy as well. You don't really need the EX if you play the Recycler at the right time. The EX is kind of a big liability sometimes because you are placing damage counters, as we keep saying. So here comes a Zeraora VSTAR deck. They're playing Bench Snipe and we have no Manaphy, so we have to watch out. They do have the Electric Generator for instant insta charge with Flaffy for the recharge to retrieve energies from the discard pile, reattach, not retrieve, onto their bench Pokemon. Here comes the Nest Ball, and here comes the Tandem unit. For more basics, yay! I honestly don't see the value of Miraidon though. I don't see the value of it at all, because we already have Stormy Mountain to bench Dragon-type Pokemon as well. Why play Tandem Unit? I guess it adds consistency, because you have an additional attacker as well. You got extra Pokemons in the deck, extra basics helping you bench easier. If you get nothing but Miraidon on the first turn, you get to search for your Flaffy, you get to search for a Mareep, Magnemite, whatever you want, Regieleki, I guess is a good thing. You don't really need to play that many stadiums. You can play Beach Court as well instead of the Stormy Mountain. It adds a lot of consistency to our decks, to Lightning decks, making it a lot more turbo and fluid, I guess, but I don't really, I honestly don't like it. It's honestly just there for the fluidity, nothing but consistency, and it's making other decks unplayable just because of that, and I kind of hate the way the game is mapping out, just because they are kind of adding cards just for the strategy, not really, you know, not really for special effects or interesting, you know, like cool mechanics or combos. They're not actually putting that into play. They're adding only cards for consistency, right? Making the deck a lot more easy to play, and, you know, doing fast knockouts and stuff like that, like Mew VMAX with Forest Seal Stone, Mew VMAX with Meloetta, Elisa, is fucking crazy. It's making other decks unplayable, and the only value for that deck is basically consistency. It's so annoying. There's nothing special about it but consistency. How stupid is that? How fucking stupid is that? There's no color. There's no color. It's black and white. So we got Armarouge. We got our VMAX. Unfortunately, we couldn't get our Radiant Eternatus though. So this is one of those games that we got a bit unlucky and couldn't actually get the Radiant Pokemon into our hand on the first turn, or even the second apparently. We got our Azure Pulse, so I'm pretty sure we can at least get a second Rayquaza going on this turn. If we get Lance, we can play the Eternatus. Are we gonna play the Eternatus though? I guess we have no choice. If we want to play another VMAX, it would be smarter, I feel, because we can't attack anyways. We don't have a switch. We played the research, didn't get a switch. And now we're going to gamble on the coin flip, hoping for a basic. There we go, we got the Radiant. We actually tried on the last turn to play the Heavy Ball, searching the prize for the Radiant Pokemon, but it was actually inside the deck. So playing 2 Heavy Ball could actually be a bad thing, but I got a lot of games. I actually got stuck with Eternatus in the prize for multiple games, playing only 1 Heavy Ball. That's the reason we have 2 Heavy Ball now. Because I don't know why, but Eternatus loves to show up in the prize. It just loves to go there. It's like its natural habitat or something. So we got 2 VMAX in play, our Blaziken as well. We can start doing Azure Pulse, which is grand. We even have a Judge on our hand. Let's hope they don't disrupt our hand with their own Judge. So they are actually doing a knockout this turn, which is quite terrible. Oh, they played a Judge as well. Oh well. We could get more energies to discard though. We got a Research and the Cheryl, which isn't really that good. We got the Charcadet. I feel like we should be benching the Charcadet, because they could at some point just finish off the Armarouge. So if you don't be careful, if you're not careful with this, so playing 2 Heavy Ball is actually a good thing though, because you could have your second Charcadet in the prize, and that helps you get your, helps you prepare for your next evolution. If they do a boss and knock out your Armarouge, all you need to do is play the Team Yell's Cheer at the right time. We got Azure Pulse to dig for that card. We got Forest Seal Stone as well to shuffle back our Armarouge. If we have the second evolution stuck in the prize, we actually do have to shuffle back the same Armarouge and evolve the same copy. So it seems like they're actually not killing off the Zera for early 2 prize. They're targeting our Blaziken with a Pokemon Catcher. Surprise, surprise. And they gave us a Cheryl in our hand on the next turn. All we need to do is search for a Switch card. Cheryl recovered the damage from our Blaziken. Well, we don't have the knockout though, so we should be playing the Cheryl first, and then do the Basin and attach the energy back onto the Blaziken with our Armarouge, so that we actually get to play Max Blaze to reattach onto our Rayquaza on the bench. Right? So we should be digging for the next energy, because we don't have enough energy in the discard pile after playing the Basin. We have 1 last energy. So we should actually be digging for the next one, but we have only 2 Azure Pulse though. Are we actually going to gamble? Let's do it. We can't play the Research, because, okay, we got the Forest Seal Stone, we're fine. We're good as gold. We got a Seal Stone to basically dig for another energy, but let's just try to compress the deck by getting out another basic and discarding it with our second Azure Pulse. Trying to dig for that energy by drawing 7 cards from the deck. 6 cards with the Pokemon, and we didn't get the energy. That's fine. We got our Forest Seal Stone. We only get to use it once though, but it's actually saving us that 1 turn, which is all we need, to be honest, to survive the game. So I'm gonna search for a Spiral here, because I'm pretty sure they can't do a 1-hit KO against our VMAX unless if they play Reaction Pulse. I don't think we have enough Pokemon with abilities though for them to do the knockout, because Blaziken has no ability. Eternatus has an ability. We have 2 Rayquazas. Zeraora has no ability. So they are only able to hit 240 damage with the VMAX. If they choose to evolve the Zera into a VMAX, they are not actually doing a knockout. A 1-hit knockout. My bad. So we're gonna fire off right after playing the Cheryl. And Max Blaze for the energies. We can actually move the Spiral energy, if you guys are actually wondering about that. We can move the Spiral using Armarouge's ability onto the Rayquaza, and that's the reason we're playing this new Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet using the ability for the transfer and also spreading energies with our Blaziken. You know, after spreading those energies onto our bench, we get to basically concentrate the energies onto the Rayquaza, onto one single Rayquaza to play Max Burst for big damage. So that's the main value for this deck. Okay, they're gonna retreat and attack with something else. They're kind of forced to play the Zera right now because they can't attack with the Miraidon, but they are actually playing the V-Star power for big damage. They got 240 spread damage, and they can actually choose to knock out the Armarouge, which is kind of scary. If they knock out the Armarouge, we're gonna have to bench a second Charcadet. I'm not sure why we didn't bench the Charcadet though. We benched the Zeraora instead, which is quite a silly move on my part. We should have benched the second Charcadet to prepare for the next evolution. They could play Avery or Collapse Stadium, but I feel like we should be discarding the Eternatus and the Charcadet and basically play our Stadium to re-bench the Charcadet on the next turn. But if they play Avery, they can't do a boss. They can still do a bench snipe though. They can actually play Avery and then a bench snipe to kill off the Armarouge on the bench, denying us the evolution on the next turn. So we're kind of forced to wait another turn just to re-evolve the Armarouge. It's quite interesting that they actually didn't do a knockout this turn. They did not play the V-Star power, and they just gave us the knockout. I'm pretty sure we got the knockout here. We got Magma Basin, we got a discard. I'm not sure if we want to play the Lance, because we should be playing, if we get another supporter card, we should be playing that instead. So we got the switch. We just need to transfer the energy onto the Rayquaza. We just need 3 energy discards though. Oh, we need 4, my bad. Because 3 discards is only giving us 260 damage, and that's not actually enough to kill off the Zeraora VSTAR, unfortunately. So we need 4 discards for us to do an OHKO on this turn, and we can't afford to keep the Zera alive for another turn. We have to kill it right now. We absolutely must kill it while we can, because they can quite easily play the V-Star power at some point if we don't. I'm not sure if they're expecting it though. I'm pretty sure they aren't expecting us to do Max Burst this turn, but it's kind of pretty obvious. If you know what Armarouge's ability is all about, it should be pretty obvious what we were up to. So I'm kind of surprised that they actually passed up the opportunity to play the V-Star power while they have the energies on the Zera. I mean, why didn't they do that? I guess they would be delaying the game though if they did that. If they kill off the Armarouge, they got only 120 damage for the next Pokemon. If they did 120 onto the active though, they could quite easily finish it off with Miraidon on the next turn. So they should definitely have played the V-Star power, not just to kill off the Armarouge, but also to damage our active Blaziken, pressuring us to play Cheryl. I don't think we have any more Cheryls in the deck, because we already played one. We do have our Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle it back and use it a second time, but we can't actually play it instantly after shuffling back, because Yell's Cheer obviously is a supporter card. We can't play 2 supporter cards at the same time. So even if we draw back the Cheryl, we can't actually play it on the same turn. So they got one last card in their hand though. This is actually looking pretty bad for them, and we actually got way too complacent and we forgot that they are actually able to attack this turn. We should have done the Eternatus because we got the Escape Rope for us to switch out. If they decide not to knock out the Eternatus and force us to get stuck, you know, we can actually swap out for the attack with our Escape Rope. But we actually got complacent and put the Blaziken because we wanted to attack. We wanted to do Max Blaze again on the next turn. But we forgot that they got the retreat. They got the retreat cost with Zera, and they can easily just finish off our VMAX right now with their Miraidon by using the attack. So I'm not sure what's happening here. This is like the biggest misplay of my life. I'm sorry about that, but we did not see the fact that they could actually do a knockout right now against the Blaziken of all things, because we actually needed. We needed to do Max Blaze again on the next turn. Let's see if we can survive this though. If we can survive this, it would be crazy, because now we have no energies in play, nothing but a Spiral on the Rayquaza. If we can somehow survive this, it would be insane. Honestly, we just need 2 energies though to finish off the Miraidon. We just need 1 energy, 1 fire to kill off the Miraidon, because it actually has 13 damage counters on it already. So 1 energies, we're doing 100 damage with our Max Burst for only 1 discard, and that's actually enough to draw 2 prizes for this turn, setting us up for more energies on the next, because we are playing Magma Basin as well. So we got 3 energies for the next turn to do 260 damage to kill off the Zera if they don't evolve. If they evolve though, it's going to be a bit more difficult. We need 1 extra turn to kill off the Zera. So that was the biggest blunder, because they actually got 3 cards in their hand right now. From 0 to 3. That's pretty terrible. If they have a research right now, I would be so depressed, because we did such a stupid mistake. Giving them the VMAX knockout, not only giving them extra prizes, but also giving them more cards in their hand. Horrible. So we gotta just deal with that. And try to make up for lost time. Here comes Azure Pulse. Are we going to play the Serena right now though? If we play the Serena, it would be a bit too early, because we don't have enough damage to kill off the Zera, unfortunately. We have only 2 discards. So Max Burst only allows you to discard basic energies, and it only allows you to discard either, you know, any amount of basic fire or any amount of basic lightning. It doesn't allow you to discard in any combination. So if you have lightning and fire attached to your Rayquaza, you can't actually, you know, discard all energies from it to do extra 80 damage by discarding the lightning as well. In addition to all of your fire, if you're playing a fire deck, or discarding all of your lightning in addition to the fire, if you're playing a lightning deck, you can't actually discard the other energy because you're not allowed to. You can only discard one type of energy, and it has to be a basic. It's pretty obvious for some people, but I feel like it's worth mentioning just because if you're not aware, if you're not careful with Rayquaza, you may actually think you have enough damage to do the knockout when you actually don't. So right now we actually couldn't kill, on the last turn, we couldn't kill the Zeraora on the bench even if we did the Serena, because we only are doing 180 damage if I'm not mistaken with our Max Burst. And they just played the Judge, which is really, really painful because my mistake is biting me at the ass right now. Oh well, we learn from our stupidity, I guess. I'm not sure why we didn't put the Radiant Eternatus when we could. We underestimated them though. We were kind of being a bit too complacent. Because we have the advantage, we have the edge, we actually did Cheryl, we had so much turn left, and that's the reason we thought we could survive with the Blaziken inactive. That was kind of sloppy, my bad, sorry about that. So right now we need 3 extra energies to kill off the VSTAR if they evolve the Zeraora. Okay, they didn't evolve it though. So all we need is a switch and a basin. Can we dig for the switch and a basin? I don't think we have any more switch cards though. So we're just gonna wait out on the bench until we get the switch or enough energies for the retreat. We have to be very careful though, because if we wait too long, they may just do the VSTAR power for free knockouts on the bench. But I don't think they have enough damage though. They got 240 damage total spread damage to kill off the Zeraora and partially damage our Armarouge. We don't actually have enough damage counters on our Armarouge for them to kill off both the baby evolution and also our Zeraora for 3 prize in a single turn. I don't think they can draw 3 prize with one shot. It's not really possible playing the VSTAR. If they play the VMAX though, we don't actually have that many Pokemon with abilities in play anyways for them to kill a VMAX with one hit. So I feel like we're good as gold still. We're still fine as long as we can dig for the switch card at the right time. We have one last switch card. One last copy inside the deck. Spoiler alert. We have the Forest Seal Stone, but we played the VSTAR power already, I'm pretty sure. We got Serena for the next turn. We should just be waiting. Okay, there we go. We got the switch inside the deck. Looking with Stormy Mountain. This is actually a funny turn though, because if we got the switch right now, if we drew the switch with Azure Pulse, we could have done the Cross Fist for the win. We could have just finished off the Flaffy and also the Miriam on the bench, because we actually attacked with Rayquaza on the last turn. If we don't do it now, it would be too late, because we actually didn't attack on this turn, and that means on the next turn we can't play Crossfist for a bench time. Crossfist is not going to give us extra 160 damage on the bench if we attack with Zeraora on the next turn, because we haven't attacked with any Pokemon on our last. If we got the switch though, we got the win, because we can kill not just the Flaffy but also the Mary on the bench, and that's enough to finish off the game. It's a bit of a waste because we could have just win a lot easier. We have enough energies. We got the Spiral, 2 Fire to satisfy the attack cost for Zeraora. For an epic win. That would have been an epic win though. Oh well. So right now we gotta just dig for the switch. If they play the VSTAR, they have to attack with the VSTAR at some point. If they play the VSTAR, they don't have the knockout. They don't have enough to win the game in a single turn. We just need to play Azure Pulse to dig through the deck. We have 6 cards left in the deck. We can just play Azure Pulse to draw everything, guaranteeing 4 cards left. My bad. Guaranteeing us the switch into our hand, playing it and attach one extra energy. We got the energy already. So all we need is... Oh my god. We need the basin as well though. Okay, we actually need the basin. Oh, we got another energy. So we need 3 energies. We need, 4 energies, 4 fire discards to kill off the V-Star. So unfortunately, we're going to have to wait another turn because we can't play the Serena right now. If we play the Serena and do the switch, we don't have enough to kill off the Zera, and we would actually deck ourselves out. And they just got the Manaphy. So Zeraora is out of the question. It's out of the question anyways, because we don't have the bench snipe without attacking with Rayquaza. We have to do max burst before Crossfist. So there we go. I think we won the game already. 1 fire, 1 switch. Oh, we have to play the Serena. Don't forget that we actually still need to play the Serena. One small slip and you lose the game. Be very careful, especially near the end. You gotta be extra careful. One tiny mistake is all it takes to throw the entire fucking game. This game is really, really difficult right now. Because everything is so tight. But we got a V-Star knockout to finish off the game for the last 2 prize. Drawing out the Snubbles for a delicious win. Yeah, we won against an electric Zera deck. Massive spread with Lightning Storm Star, a very cool V-Star power. So right now we're up against a Giratina VSTAR Lost Box. Let's see how well this deck is doing against the Lost Box. They have the V-Star though, so if we kill enough Giratinas, if we can just target the V Pokemons, the V cards, I feel like we got the win. If they don't play enough V cards though, I'm not too sure. We do have 1 Cheryl, but I'm not sure if it's enough to play just 1 Cheryl against a 1 price deck. They have the V-Star as we said, but if they have more of the 1 price cards, if they use more Sableyes, if they play Cramorant, if they play Radiant Charizard as well, or the Greninja for the bench snipe, if they use that a lot more times than the Giratina, if they choose not to bench the second Giratina or to play Luminions in the deck, if they have no second V cards for us to do the boss with, then we can't actually draw a prize fast enough against for the win against a Lost Box. It's going to be a bit more difficult for us to counter the Lost Mine and the Cramorant Spits. They need a couple turns though, right? They need to waste a couple turns to get enough damage in the game, even with Sableye. If they play Sableye at the right time, they could actually just deal with the Armarouge. But I don't think we need the Armarouge. We just need to play Cheryl at the right time, because 130 damage with Blaziken is actually enough to kill off any Pokemon. Except for the Giratina, obviously. So here comes our Radiant Eternatus. We actually get to play it for this game. That's grand. Digging out for 2 VMAX, 2 Rayquazas on the bench, early game. We got Azure Pulse on the first turn, which is madness. Now we can dig for the Blaziken. I don't think they... I'm pretty sure they can't kill the Blaziken this turn though. It would be quite surprising if they can. Because they're actually going second, and they can't play Mirage Gate that early, obviously. Okay, here comes the Flower Select and the Beach Court. We're going to get Jet Energy for the next set. And that's going to support Comfy to draw cards a lot faster while attacking with Cramorant on the first turn. And then they can gate for the energy after that. So going forward, they got that item to help them satisfy the attack cost. They also have the Jet Energy to satisfy the colorless as well. So I feel like for not just the Lost Box, for most decks in Standard, Jet Energy is gonna help out a lot, since we are playing, since most Pokemons have like 1 colorless. They normally have 2 lightning, 1 colorless, 2 psychic, 1 colorless, something like that. So all we need is like 2 or 3 copies of Jet Energy in the deck to substitute for the switch, and we actually have way more consistency than you think. Anyways, back to the game. So here comes Cramorant for the first strike. We're just gonna put Eternatus, because we're kind of hoping they would just empty off our bench spot for us to play our second Charcadet preparing for our next evolution. If they knock out one of the Armarouge with Lost Mine, it would be pretty bad because we would need to evolve the second copy. So we have to prepare for that against a Lost Box. Lost Mine is quite easily gonna finish off your first Armarouge. If you don't get your second one immediately after the knockout, you're screwed because you can't move your energy onto your Rayquaza. You can't do the Basin. You can't get enough energies to play Max Burst for a knockout. So we got our research for the discard. We just need to dig for the switch now. They actually chose not to hit our Pokemon. They chose to play Giratina to lose even more cards. So Abyss Seeking allows them to look at the top 4 cards of their deck, put 2 into their hand and put 2 in the Lost Zone. And adding cards into the Lost Zone is going to help them a lot in the long run to play not just Sableye Lost Mine, Mirage Gate, but also Star Requiem for an instant knockout using Giratina's V-Star power to collect 3 prize in a single turn by killing one of our VMAXs in play. So we have to watch out for Star Requiem. We have to be very careful for the V-Star power because it's definitely coming. So we got our energy on the Eternatus for the retreat. We actually have to use the beach court first to satisfy the retreat cost before playing Magma Basin and then fire off for us to play the Max Blaze. So we're actually making use of all stadium cards to be able to attack within this turn. Without doing a switch, we actually get to retreat and play Max Blaze for 2 extra energies onto the Rayquaza. So we have 1 Spiral in the discard pile. I feel like we should be good as gold. All we need to do is dig for more fire with our Azure Pulse. Our 3rd evolution would be nice though, if we can get a 3rd Rayquaza to play the ability more times. So we have actually 2 Spiral on the in the discard pile already. So this is actually pretty risky because if they kill the Rayquaza with a boss, we have to be prepared for that. And for this game, I didn't actually have the foresight. I forgot that they have Star Requiem for an insta-kill. So against any decks that can do a one-hit knockout, you have to watch out because if they kill off your Rayquaza with the Spiral Energy attached, you have no energy on the next turn to play Max Burst. And we actually need to attack immediately after they kill our Pokemon. We need to think about an instant comeback, especially if you're playing a VMAX deck, because they can easily just knock out your second VMAX for the win by drawing the last 3 prize. So you have to be extra careful, especially with Sky Seal Stone still in the game right now. We are losing extra prizes with that V-Star power if they use it at the right time. So we have to be very conscious of what is in play, especially in Standard. They have Star Requiem. We actually need to get a second Spiral into play as early on as the first turn. We should have just done double Spiral, honestly, right now, right here. But we could actually save ourselves later on in the game if we are smart. Because we honestly already have the knockout on the Giratina. All we need is 1 Basin and 1 energy from our hand. We got already 4 energies to kill off the first V-Star. Unless if they do the Requiem on the Blaziken, then we would have like 2 less energies in play, 2 less fire in play, and we'll be down to only 180 damage output for our Max Burst for the next turn. So 180 is not enough to kill off a V-Star obviously, and we would need to bring out a second Blaziken just to get more energies into play, or to wait to wait on the bench. We have no Poncho for this deck unfortunately, so we can't actually afford to pass the turn not attacking with anything. If we want to be attacking, we should be attacking with either Blaziken or Rayquaza. But we can actually play Zera though. We have the option of playing Zera as well if we don't have enough energies to the knockout with our Rayquaza yet. We can still play Crossfist, but I feel like Crossfist is kind of a finishing attacker. We can't really be playing Zera that early because if we use Crossfist by moving all energies onto the Zera, we're gonna lose those energies on the next turn. With the knockout, if they kill off our Zera, we got 3 energy less in play, and that's gonna mean a lot. We can't actually do a knockout on the next turn with Rayquaza anymore. We have only 2 extra energies with Basin and 1 from our hand. I don't think that's enough, honestly, for us to play Max Burst for a knockout. Unless if they have a Lumineon. So here comes the Giratina. I feel like we got the knockout here, so we should be fine. Shouldn't be too worried yet. We even have a boss in our hand. So they can't play Requiem that early. And they actually did kill off our Eternatus, giving us the free space on the bench, one extra spot for another Charcadet, which is grand, or even a Zera. You can bench Zera at some point in the game later on though. You don't really need to play it that early. So for example, if you have like 5 bench right now, if your opponent does a knockout on their next turn, you can quite easily bench the Zera, do a switch, and immediately transfer the energy to do a last minute cross fist for big damage. 260 total damage, which is not bad. We have no more, well, Telescopic Sight is off rotation, and Passimian is obviously only hitting extra damage on the bench for V cards. If they play EXs, we're not actually hitting extra damage on the bench. If they play a Lumineon though, or Kricketune V on the bench, we actually got a free knockout with Crossfist. So that's the power of Passimian, but we're not actually playing that card for this deck, just because Passimian is adding more space, it's basically blocking our bench spots even more, and we have Eternatus already eating up the bench space. Eating up that spot, we can't afford to bench any more Pokemons. I thought of playing Skwovet. Skwovet with Azure Pulse is a really good combo. Skwovet with Rayquaza VMAX for the draw support, and also to save cards just in case you discard the wrong... If you don't want to discard the wrong cards, you can quite easily just play the Skwovet to draw, put those cards at the bottom of your deck, and then draw with your Azure Pulse, stacking the ability to draw the right cards into your hand. Obviously, you only get to use it once though. You can't really be playing more than one Skwovet in a single game. You shouldn't be benching more than one copy. We have our boss to deal with the Giratina on the next turn. All we need is one last V knockout. If we can dig for the Serena with a Forest Seal Stone at the last second, we can quite easily just deal with the Lumineon to finish off the game by drawing the final 2 prize. So it's very interesting, Armarouge with Rayquaza, because you actually get to attach 2 energies in a single turn for 180 guaranteed damage, but how are we going to get more energies than that? We got Blaziken for this deck to attach more energies while doing 130 damage onto their active, and that gives us less discards on the next turn. If we want to kill the same Pokemon with a boss, we actually get to discard less energies with Rayquaza for a VSTAR, for a VMAX knockout even, and then, that gives us a lot more time to dig for more energies with our Basin, collecting more for another VMAX knockout. So Blaziken is actually perfect. So we're down to 2 prize remaining. They have no Giratinas in play. That's a good sign. We have only 1 Spiral Energy in play though. We gotta be extra careful. Only 1 Spiral. This is the part where they actually benched another Giratina and did the Star Requiem on, the turn after this. They did Star Requiem to kill off the Rayquaza with the Spiral. And that was actually pretty soul crushing, because we have 1 last Lightning in the deck. If we don't get the Lightning, we're done for. We're actually forced to play our Blaziken to do Max Blaze again, and we can't actually play it. We can't attack with it after they do Star Requiem though, because they got Lost Impact to finish off the Blaziken, and we only have 280 HP remaining since they have 4 damage counters on it, so it's kind of perfect math for them to do double VMAX knockout with that single Giratina for the win. So let's see if we can actually survive making a horrible mistake again. Another huge misplay on my part. I can't apologize enough. And honestly, I have no one to apologize to but myself. I failed myself. I honestly just failed myself. So I'm learning though. So what we should have done on the next turn is we should have just transferred the Spiral onto the Blaziken, and then search the discard pile for a 1 Spiral and 1 Fire, attach it onto 2 different Rayquazas with our Max Blaze. So that would give us like 1 Fire and 1 Spiral on the Blaziken, 1 Fire on one of our bench Rayquaza, and another Spiral on the next Rayquaza. Right? So we would essentially have 4 energies in play with 2 Spiral and 2 Fire. If they knock out the Blaziken, we got another Spiral on the bench. we should be fine. We just need to play the Basin though. We just need to play the Basin on the next turn and also the turn after that to be able to kill the Giratina right after they do this Star Requiem. If we can't kill the Giratina after they play Star Requiem, it's over, it's done for. They got the boss to kill off the Blaziken and that's it. They just need to deal with one VMAX with Star Requiem and the Blaziken with Lost Impact. That's actually enough for them to win the game. So we do have to be extra careful playing a VMAX deck at all times, every single turn. We can't really be complacent at all. Even if we are drawing 4 prizes already, we just need one last knockout, one last V knockout to win the game. But apparently we need to play Max Blaze first. And if they do a boss on the bench Rayquaza, we would be totally screwed. So this is where I said we should have just transferred the Spiral onto the Blaziken and did Max Blaze for, you know, another Spiral on the bench. That would have given us one Spiral on the Blaziken and one Spiral on the Rayquaza. Right? And 3 Fire Energies in play. We have 3 Fire Energies right now. If they kill the Blaziken, we got 2 fire remaining, and we just need to play the Basin and attach 1 fire from our hand for 4 fire discards to kill off the Giratina with Max Burst immediately after they kill off the Blaziken. Because that's probably the one that they're targeting if it has either the Blaziken or the Armarouge, because it has the most energies attached, right? They would probably just play the Stadium and target the Blaziken, try to cut down our fire energy as much as possible, removing as much energies from play so that we actually don't get the knockout on the next turn. All they need to do is survive 1 turn to play the V-Star power, and we're done for. It's as easy as that. We made a huge mistake. We weren't really expecting the V-Star power, to be honest. I wasn't really expecting the last minute boss as well. Oh well. We could have been smarter with our gameplay, for sure. And there we go. They not just discarded one. If we wanted to attach like 2 fire onto the bench, we should have just spreaded the energy as well. I mean, that's another horrible mistake that we made. Even while, you know, making a blunder, we're making a double-edged blunder at that. I'm not sure what's happening. Because if we spread the energies onto 3 different Rayquazas, even if they kill the one with the Spiral, we got more fire energies to spare for us to do extra knockouts with Max Burst. That would have been a lot smarter. So even if they play the Stadium to remove Magma Basin, we're good as gold. We have more than enough fire energies in play. We just need to dig for that one last Lightning, because we have no more Spiral inside the deck, unfortunately. So if we got the Lightning prized, we can't actually win anymore. We're not able to win this game unless if we do an Escape Rope though. We have no more boss. If we do an Escape Rope, they're just probably going to put out the Giratina or the Lumineon, and we can't actually knock it out with our Blaziken. If we can't attack with the Rayquaza right now, we lose the game. Because we have no more boss. If we have the boss, we can target a Comfy for the last prize. We can't even play the Zera without the Lightning Energy. So make sure not to underestimate. Make sure to attach more than 1 Spiral from the discard pile. Do not underestimate the VMAX knockout. Be very, very careful. That 1 lightning cost means everything. So now we're just gonna dig for the last lightning energy. And we actually got it with the research. Thank God we didn't get punished for our horrible mistake. Terrible misplay right there. Just take your time next time. Don't rush. Make sure you take your time to think properly. Think through all the different routes, all the different options that you have before making every single tiny decisions in this game. Every single decision is a checkpoint. Like, you can't actually have a path set in your mind. You can't really be thinking, oh, I need to do this, I need to do A, B, C, and then D. No. It's sometimes the sequencing matters. Sometimes after doing A, you have to think about whether B is the right option, to follow right after doing A. You have to stop and think after making every decision. You can't really just blindly follow through your first idea. You have to just stop and think every single step of the way. That's how difficult this game is. I'm only just learning that, so bear with me if I'm making terrible misplays. I can't really help it, but I'm learning. So we have our last game right now against another Miraidon. They're playing a Miraidon with Rayquaza VMAX, a very classic Miraidon deck. So I'm just going to leave you guys to focus on the game right here. So hope you guys enjoyed this one featuring our Armarouge with Blaziken VMAX combo using Rayquaza VMAX to do a big knockout after getting the energy onto our bench, spreading the energy with our Blaziken VMAX onto our bench Rapid Strike Pokemon, and then moving those energies onto our active Rayquaza by switching it into play and moving those energies using Armarouge's Fire Off ability from Scarlet and Violet, a super cool new ability for fire Pokemons, playing our Dragon Attacker to do big knockouts with Max Burst. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye from the people. Enjoy life.